Dan-Dwayne here. Today I want to do something special. I want to read for you a passage from my novel, Premeditated Pandemonium. It's page 2 of Premeditated Pandemonium. Evan held the flight stick of the chopper steady as Zane leaped from the helicopter into the inky blackness that lay before him. Its tranquility surrounded him and enveloped him. It made him one with the night sky. On his cheeks he felt splatters of moisture as he fell through a thin cloud, and his mind drifted for a moment. Lately his greatest concern was where he should put his faith. That was the prime question he asked himself, the question he always had at the back of his mind. This night he had to force his thoughts aside to concentrate on the mission at hand. At 950 feet, literally suspended between heaven and earth, it wasn't time for Zane to think of such things. On top of everything else, there was the bitter cold. It was the cold that brought his focus back to his mission, his purpose. He had a job to do, and although his cheeks felt frozen as he hurtled through the black air of night between the helicopter and the top of the newly completed WWIII Corporation skyscraper, the jewel of the Boston skyline, he would persevere. Holding tight to the ripcord of his parachute, he counted off the seconds before he opened it. It was only seconds, but it felt like a perpetual eternity before he reached the precisely calculated distance when his parachute would not be noticed by the dual-tower security team. He whispered the number 0 and pulled hard on the ripcord. The nylon cloth shot out of the tight packing and popped loudly as it suddenly filled with air. Zane flailed briefly like a rag doll as his momentum temporarily reversed, and he began his gentle descent to the top of the tallest tower. Landing with a roll, he stripped off the pack and tucked as much of the blowing fabric back into it as he could. Dressed in black fatigues, he pulled a ski mask over his face. Loose threads outlined where his rank and his Goldstein Gorilla's patch had once been attached to his shoulder. With little time to spare, he pressed the release button on the miniaturized collapsible grappling hook. The titanium tines of the hook sprang out into a claw shape. He secured the rope to the hook and anchored it to the massive air conditioning unit that cooled the tower. He pulled his weight against it. It held fast. He clipped the carabiners to the rope in repelling fashion. He slowly walked backward over the edge of the 65-story skyscraper, keeping his focus on the rope and the mirrored surface of the monolithic building so as not to be overcome with vertigo and, because of the height, lose his footing. He tried to clear his thoughts and count the floors as he descended the rope. 57, 56, 55, 54, 53. This is the floor. Wrapping the rope into a knot around his waist to free his hands, he took an odd-looking torch from his bag. It was custom-made to be fueled by white phosphorus vapor and a water spray. It would burn 10 times hotter than propane. He also put a metallic-looking glove on his left hand. Igniting the torch, he gripped it tightly and increased the chemical flow. The water vapor intensified the heat of the burning phosphorus. He hung there in space, feeding the flame the rich mixture of gases until it glowed a blinding blue-white. Holding it with just enough space between the tensile surface of the glass allowed the blazing tip enough air to burn at its maximum temp, approximately 1600 degrees Celsius. In a few moments, the glass began to melt into sludge. Little by little, with his gauntleted hand, he pushed the melted glass out of the way, slowly enlarging the opening. He patiently moved the torch around in a circle, his gauntlet splitting open the ever-widening space in the thick glass-plated armor securing the building. Once he had a 36-inch hole melted in the security glass, he returned the torch to his bag before untying his rope and leaping feet first through the open oculus. He was inside. It was time to get to work. Hurrying down the hall with his gun at the ready, he passed the door marked stairs. He froze. The handle turned. Someone was there. A black-gloved hand slid between the door jamb. Suddenly, the door flung open wide, and he was face to face and gun to gun with a man from the stairwell.